right, let's try again. Welcome to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sherritts. And I'd like to wish everyone a happy Monday and stay dry out there. A couple of things, be careful out there driving around in this downpour. Give yourself a few extra minutes. On my way over to the show, I saw a couple of ambulances and paramedics going, lights blaring, and we don't want anyone to be the people on the other end of that. So do your best to be careful in this weather. We don't get much weather, so people aren't used to it. And happy Monday to everyone. Now, if you don't mind the rain, get out in it. Go run around in it. Have some fun. If you got kids, take them out and do some puddle jumping like I do with my boys, and just enjoy it. I try to start off the show every Monday by offering people a little bit of a different perspective. If you're in a space where, where Monday looks daunting to you, and you think, oh my God, we got this big week ahead of us that's just got a lot going on. And in life, I like to offer this as well, is let's take a moment to sit and think about the things that we have in our lives to be grateful for. And I sometimes like to think about the things that have been taken out of my life that I'm grateful for as well, because God knows there was a lot of stuff going on that I could live without. And I'm really grateful for the life of recovery that I live today, and I like to offer that perspective. Man, take a moment to think about what you have to look forward for in your life. Think about this big, beautiful week that's in front of us. All the opportunities to get stuff done, to jump over some hurdles, to overcome some obstacles, to meet some wonderful people, and if possible, help as many people as we possibly can. So happy Monday to everyone. The Way Out Recovery is an intensive outpatient program. We are located here in Santa Clarita, and we are on the corner of Plum and Bouquet Canyon, 28118 Bouquet. Drop by and visit us anytime. There's almost always somebody over there. We love to have visitors. If you are struggling and need help, if someone you love is struggling and needs help with drug and alcohol issues or mental health issues, please give us a call, 296-4444. You can also go to our website and submit a request for an appointment for an assessment, absolutely confidential, thewayoutrecoveryscv.com, or you can send me an email, bob@thewayoutrecoveryscv.com. If you or someone you love is struggling, everything starts with asking for help. If you can't call us, ask somebody for help. Ask a loved one, ask a family member, ask your pastor, ask a teacher, ask somebody for help. But it all starts right there. As soon as you can do that, there are a lot of people, including myself, and tons and tons of organizations in the Santa Clarita Valley that are sitting here waiting for people to ask for help. That's what we do, is we help you get where you need to be, stop the behavior that's putting a damper on your life. So give us a call. We have a really incredible show for you today. Hi, guys.
Hello.
We are going to talk about an organization that certainly I love this organization. I am very passionate about sending our youth and their parents and loved ones to this organization. It is called A Light of Hope. You guys have been around for how long?
We just finished our 10th year.
So 10 years, and I don't think that enough people know about you. So our goal of the show today is to get the word out about A Light of Hope, which is a youth and family support group that is free. It's twice a week, and we're going to get some details about all of that when we come back. We have the founders of A Light of Hope in studio with us today, Susan and Tim Trarig. Welcome to the show.
It's good to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
So we're going to spend some time. Here's what I want to hear today, and I hope everybody else does. I want to hear the story behind, because although none of us likes to see suffering in our lives or other people's lives, I think, for me personally, the things that have been the most beautiful that are today have come out of what I thought were the darkest times. Yeah. And A Light of Hope has that kind of story. it has come out of what I bet for you as parents were really trying in hard times, you know. So I want to, I want to offer people hope in that by hearing your story, and then hear about what you guys do over there, how we get in touch with you, and what we can expect, and let's get this information out to the people of Santa Clarita so that they can take advantage of this wonderful program that you have over there.
We love that opportunity.
So I'm Bob Sheritz. This is the Way Out Recovery Hour. We will be right back in a few moments after these messages.
You already know Salt Creek Grill has the best food in our valley. Well, now you can have Salt Creek's gourmet meals catered to your event.
I'm Greg Amsler, owner of Salt Creek Grill. I'd like to introduce you to a new level of catering, featuring our catering director, Tamara Levine.
Salt Creek Grill creates memorable experiences, which leaves our clients and guests with a sense of awe and excitement. From menu development to picturesque presentation, you'll enjoy culinary excellence and creative catering.
Salt Creek Grill, a new level of catering.
Coming to Santa Clarita, it's Grammy Award-winning Rita Coolidge at the Canyon Club in the Valencia Town Center. Performing hits from the 70s and 80s, her songs were tops on Billboard magazine's pop, country, adult contemporary, and jazz charts. Classic hits like the theme from the 1983 James Bond film Octopussy, All Time High. And featuring Santa Clarita's own Savannah Burrows. A night of legendary music from Rita Coolidge and storytelling and original music from the 2016 Local Country Showdown winner, Savannah Burrows. Rita Coolidge and Savannah Burrows, Sunday, January 27th at the Canyon, Santa Clarita in the Valencia Town Center. Tickets at Ticketmaster.
The Art Gallery of Santa Clarita Artists Association, located in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Railroad and Main, features local members' original artwork with changing exhibits every 2 months. Purchase affordable art for your home or as gifts. Open Friday through Sunday or by appointment. Artists wishing to join the SCAA can visit santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming shows, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
KHTS. Now FM, 98.1 FM and AM 1220, your hometown station.
Welcome back to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sheritz, and if you are just joining us, we have in studio with us today Tim and Susan Traurig. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Really good to be here. Thank you for having us.
They are the founders of A Light of Hope, and I'm going to, rather than try to explain what it is, I would much rather have you explain what it is. What is A Light of Hope?
All right. A Light of Hope is a support center for youth 14 to 26 struggling with substance abuse issues or other self-destructive actions or behaviors such as cutting, anxiety, depression, just people, kids, young people feel just kind of withdrawn from, their friends and isolated. We provide weekly support groups for them as well as their parents, the family, because we realize how important the family is in recovery. Getting the whole family well, since the whole family can get sick in this process. So we have weekly support groups for parents and their young people, 14 to 26. And then on the weekends, we have what we call APG events, alternative peer group activities and events. And those are really the cornerstone of what we do, I think, for young people in recovery. We think it's a vital part of recovery is that connection with a group of young people, their peers that are getting clean and sober in a safe environment. And they do all kinds of fun things. They go to the Dodger game, Rams game. They've been snowboarding. They go to the beach, do bonfires. They go to the movies, and they go on hikes together and physically, get their bodies out there doing things. And it really makes a difference because they connect to this community that they can relate to with these young people that have similar experiences and circumstances in their own life. So all of these things that we do throughout the week are free to parents and families. We've seen recovery just really get solid through this, what we call a APG recovery model. It's that alternative peer group. And we see not only is that important for our young people, but it's important for our parents. They have their own APG, an alternative peer group. It's other parents. And as young people can get isolated, so can we as parents. When our kids are going through these things, we seem to kind of withdraw from friends and family who don't understand, even from our churches and places we go, hobbies we used to do, and we kind of isolate. And when we can connect with like-minded individuals, other parents who have been on that journey and hear their experience, strength, and hope shared, it really encourages others to move forward in their own recovery. We say our parents are in recovery, just like they're young people.
The entire family has to be in recovery.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. So we've really seen a lot of healing take place. It's important for us to maintain that parent-child relationship that can get so destroyed in this journey, to try to keep a connection there and help our parents recognize that the monster of addiction and their child aren't the same thing.
Right.
To separate their child from the monster of addiction. Keep loving your child, but hate the disease.
Well, and that's one of the important things about talking openly about addiction and mental health and all the issues that go along with that, is that is a, those are disorders unto themselves, and they're not, they don't care who they grab a hold of. And addiction and mental health has a range of everybody fits in it. You can be in any demographic and fit in that. And for us to talk about it openly as much as possible kind of erases that stigma. And that's one of the biggest tools I think that we have.
Yeah, for sure.
So as parents, a lot of what I get in the parents, the families that I work with is people are afraid to talk openly about it. Now, you guys came into a light of hope through your own experience, correct?
Yes.
Was there a time, so how did you bridge that sort of gap? Do you fall in the category of when your kids were going through it, it was difficult to talk about, I didn't know who to talk about? One of the benefits of a support group is just walking into the room and hearing other people share and going, oh my God, I'm not alone. Yes. Oh my God, it's okay to talk about this. Like that relief that comes.
Yes.
But before you were knew about that, how difficult was it for you? And maybe you want to talk about, what that looked like with your kids. What were your kids going through? He's looking at you, Susan.
Well, first I'd like to say, I'm not just a parent of an addict, but I struggled for many, many years with an eating disorder of my own, anorexia, and I had no insurance. There was no help for me. And so I personally already knew what it was like to feel like you were completely alone and isolated in something that you had no control over.
Right.
So fortunately, I was blessed enough to get help with that, but I also realized because I didn't have a recovery community or a group per se, I think that I stayed in that struggle a lot longer than I would have.
Yeah.
So for me, I was in a lot of denial. I think I started seeing signs, 2 of our daughters, we have 3 girls, I saw, but I didn't want to see. And it wasn't until when I was training for a marathon in 1999, and I was going to do an early morning training run. I went in my daughter's room to find a stuffed animal hidden in her bed, and she was gone. And I was horrified. And that's when I realized, this has been going on. She's been sneaking out. She's been running with a group of people doing drugs. And that was the beginning of a huge nightmare for me. And not only that, we had a second daughter go through it too. And you don't know what to do. You're horrified. You're fighting your own denial that this could be real. And so when I started to reach out to certain people, I didn't get the response that I thought I would get. And especially for me in my church community, I really felt like people just did not want to hear about it. So that further isolated me. So that's my part of the story. And Tim might want to add some things of his.
I think.
Well, in fairness, just real quick, in fairness to anybody who's it's a difficult thing to talk about,
it
right?
is.
And so
Yeah.
it's, one of the things that I like to say about addiction is that it's probably, statistically speaking, the most wide and pervasive issue that faces the world. I mean, it's huge, right? Like everybody knows somebody, but it's one of the things that nobody likes to talk about.
No.
And so oftentimes when we reach out to people for looking for help, because people don't know how to respond,
Yes.
it's like a lot of other things. They just go like,
Yes,
whoa,
absolutely.
like I can't
Yes.
talk about it. And so most people are like that, and so it can be difficult for us to find somebody to talk to,
Yeah.
right?
I did have an instance too where I was talking to a friend of mine, and she had shared with me how her daughter had gotten addicted to heroin, and it happened to be at the mall through a young man that was at the mall kind of scouting out this was like over 10 years ago,
Right.
when the mall was brand new in Santa Clarita, and she mentioned the guy's name to me, and I went home and I looked on the back of my daughter's door, and that name and phone number was written in pencil on my daughter's door. So that was my really
You're like,
rude
oh,
awakening.
Yeah.
And this woman in particular had gone to the parents of the other kids that her daughter was running with, and they did do that. No, don't talk to me about it. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So it has always been our goal is to be able to be there when people come in and they're like deers in the headlights. They've found out, oh my God, my kid's using, what do I do? And to embrace them and to give them hope, and so they don't have to feel alone, and like there's somebody there that will listen to them and not run away from the hard truth.
Right.
So.
Well, and it's interesting, if you've been around support groups long enough, like you guys have and like I have, we almost get to the point where we talk so openly about it that I almost forget how difficult it is for some people to talk
Yeah.
about. Like I just go
Yeah.
through my life
Yeah.
going, hey, let's, there's no topic that's off limits. Let's go for it, right? And a lot of people are like, whoa. So you have to be that. You have to be sensitive to that.
Yes.
Like to sit down and go,
Yeah.
look, like on whatever level you're willing to talk about it, I just want you to know I'm here for you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we've worked on trying to break that stigma that's out there, that this kind of thing just happens to bad families or bad parenting, which we
Right.
know isn't the case. And so we like to, share our story, that we've been married for 38 years. We were church kids. We raised our kids in a church. I was a fireman, LA City fireman for 35 years. I talked to my kids about drugs and all of that. We thought we did all the right things, but it still happened.
Yeah.
Addiction finds its way into any family, any way that it can. And so we try to break just the stigma of people being uncomfortable about talking about this disease, because what you find out when you talk about it, you're really not alone. There's a lot of other people that are struggling with the same thing. You just didn't realize it because nobody talks about it. And as you start to share, other people start to open up, and it gives you an opportunity to bring hope to them.
Well, and from somebody who's addicted perspective, or someone with an eating disorders, just because we suffer from these disorders doesn't make us bad people. And I think it's important for people to hear this too, is just because your kid suffers from it doesn't make you a bad parent.
That's right.
Right.
And you can lift your head up and look people in the eye. You don't have to. Yes. I'm always amazed. Like you said, I didn't have control over this thing, which is, embracing the idea that addiction is so powerful that it's not a choice. If you've crossed the line into addiction,
Yes.
you have to have somebody else's help
Yes.
to get out of this thing. You can't do it by yourself, right? And when you embrace that right there, I'm always amazed that we'll say that, like, I'm powerless over it and I didn't have any choice in it or control over it, but yet I'm still carrying around this shame that says, like, I'm
Yes.
bad
Yes.
or something, right? And we got to let that go. We got to push that out. And so, you know, you guys as a family talking about it, people can go, oh my God, like, it's okay to talk about it. And these are good people. How could their kids possibly be addicted? Because we have this idea, right?
Right, right. And I think that's
Yeah.
what, you know, got us to really start a light of hope was we were so lost, we were so isolated, and we were full of fear. I think
Right.
fear was the driving force of the chaos in our life, was trying to figure this all out, try to make the right decisions, but we were so filled with fear. I think a lot of the decisions and choices we made just out of fear, without a lot of knowledge, without a lot of understanding of how all this works. And so when we started A Light of Hope, we were still in the middle of our own kids' addiction. We were still trying to, you know, help them find recovery in their life, and we really didn't know what that looked like, but we wanted to bring hope to others. And so we had we have a history in our life of our family going through some really tough times, and we've seen how things can change, and we wanted to use our story to bring hope to others. Even if back then we didn't have a lot of knowledge on all of this, we knew that we could bring hope.
Right.
And in bringing hope to others, it brought us hope. And it's like it worked off of each other. We started to find strength from those we were trying to bring hope to, and they were getting strength from us bringing hope. And it was really that's how it kind of works at A Light of Hope, is that parents sharing their stories brings hope to others, and hearing other people looking for hope just encourages us all to stay on that recovery road as parents.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you know, there are some disorders where, like, sort of group counseling or group therapy or getting together in support groups doesn't necessarily help. There are some disorders like that, but for most of the addictive disorders, when we get together as a group and everybody just starts, how much that helps from both ends, like you're saying, right? So when you sort of let go of the denial, Susan, and said, okay, my kid has a problem. And by the way, statistically speaking, by the time a parent finds out, their kid's been using for 18 months. On average, that's what national statistics says. By the time a parent realizes, oh my God, my kid's smoking pot or whatever, they've already been using a year and a half. So to be in denial as a parent is kind of the norm, almost. You know, nobody wants to believe their kid's doing it. So now you see the phone number on the back of your daughter's door, and you know, okay, it's for real. What did you guys do at that point? You put her in treatment? I mean, what'd you do? Intervention?
Gosh, I don't even remember. There's been so.
Did you confront her?
Our kids went through more than one rehab.
Okay.
So, and I definitely know that I had the parent guilt big time. I did a lot of enabling, very codependent mom that I was. So, yes, we did confront our kids. I don't even remember. It's hard for me to remember. We tried everything, Bob. We tried everything. We tried outpatient, IOP, treatment, and this is with two of our daughters.
Right.
And something
Wilderness
that
programs,
well,
and
yes.
different types of rehabs to try to get them in
Which,
recovery.
which I got to say, it's all good. Like,
Yeah.
do something.
Yeah,
Yes.
but what
Even if you got to go through all kinds and try everything, you know, don't give up.
But I
you
think
know?
what's so important for us as parents to learn is that it is a family illness.
Right.
And so I ended up going to get my addiction counseling certification, thinking, I'm going to help all these people. And I had the rudest awakening in those classes, and I had to look at me, and I had to look at my part in it, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm a part of this, and I'm enabling these things to happen. And I remember hearing, I think it was our program director Steve that said, you're killing your child on the installment plan. And it hit me right between the eyes, and it's like all these things that you think are so loving, and they would be loving under normal circumstances, you can't do when you have a child who's an addict.
Right.
You have to completely relearn how you're dealing with them and communicating with them, and what you think is love turns out to not be very loving and not very helpful. So that was a really big wake-up call for me, and I knew I had work to do in my own life, a lot of work to do in my own life. So I honestly think that when I stopped trying to fix my kids and allowed them the dignity to be who they were, and you know, obviously this was years of learning for me, and I'm still learning how to let them put to use what they've learned, how to, you know, pull out a little and say, like, when they tell me things like, well, I'm sure you'll figure that out, instead of trying to have all the answers for them. And it's an ongoing process still for me to learn that. And that's what I love about parent group, is everybody's in there learning those things. I personally am in with the young people, and I have such a heart for them, because back to that shame, I see these young people and I think they're so gifted, so creative, so talented, wonderful human beings that have so much shame because of the addiction, which is what I had with my eating disorder. So I really like to go in there and just build them up, just build them up. So, but this is, a lot of it has come through making a lot of mistakes in my own life with my parenting and in my own personal life. So,
well, it's an interesting, you know, it's what works for one person doesn't work for the other. You know, it's such a complicated disorders, you know, especially we're talking about addiction. What, you know, we have to find out what works for us. At the end of the day, when it comes to us with our kids, finding a balance that says, you know, I'm going to let you sort of make your own mistakes, but not so much that you're going to die from it. But I'm not just going to let you run amok in my house. So I have to learn how to set some boundaries as well. And that balance that goes back and forth there's a space in there for some really incredible conversations with our kids. Some real conversations, you know. Difficult, yes, absolutely. Nobody wants to have those kind of conversations with their kids, but necessary, right? And in that, I think that if we're in support groups and people are offering their experience and we learn how to do that, that the relationships that we have with our kids are just phenomenal. You know, and you talk about these young people, you know, it's the symptomology, the symptoms of addiction look like badness, right? Like sometimes, and especially for the 90% of people who absolutely don't understand what addiction looks like, it looks like, wait a minute, these people are stealing from me, they're lying to me, they're right in my face looking at me and lying to me. And it looks almost like in a court, I've heard in a criminal court, I've heard addicts be referred to as sociopaths. You know, like it looks like sociopathy. They don't care about their kids. They don't care about their family. They don't care about anything. But when you understand addiction, it's exactly the opposite of that. And these youngsters that suffer from addiction are the kind of they feel more than other people. They're more sensitive than other people. They're incredible artists and gifted people, and just you're like, whoa, once you get to know them, right? And that's part of it. And so we try to boost them up with that, right?
Yeah, we try to spark that, you know, excitement back in their life through those things that they are so good at, so creative. You know, some of them, you know, play musical instruments, draw, you know, artists, all of those things you said, and try to spark that back in them, let them experience life again, and try to get them back on that track. And back to when we were talking about, you know, what we do as parents in the home, what we've realized, what we help parents come to realize is they need to change the environment in their home, an environment that's more conducive to recovery. The environment that we have that happens when we don't have a pathway or don't have guidance becomes very toxic, and it just furthers the disease, not only in that individual, I think, or strengthens it, but also in us as parents. We get crazy, we start doing crazy things, we become a monster also in it all. And so it's just changing the environment, and we can change the environment through the tools we learn in groups like A Light of Hope and The Way Out and so on. We get some really great tools that really change things in the way we communicate, how we respond, how we relate to each other, what we do and don't do really makes a difference. And I think the hardest thing for parents in that process is really letting go of the idea that somehow I can fix them.
Right. or even that they're the problem.
Right.
You know, like when I love when a parent is receptive to, because so in our adolescent multifamily groups, from the minute that a new family walks in, my immediate goal is to say, what I'll say to them is, this group is not about them. I know that you think that their behavior is the problem here, but what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to take your focus off of them, and let's see what you can do to change about yourself. And when parents are receptive to that,
Yes.
there's just amazing things that
it's
take
awesome.
place. The kids get better.
Yes.
The kids get better, you know, and I'm
it's
not,
amazing.
and to be able to do that without allowing the parents to beat themselves up and think it's all their fault,
Yes.
or allow the kids to say it's all my parents' fault, right? And because it's not, right? The system has like some defective stuff going on in it. And so let's change the communication and the way we talk to each other. Yeah. And I like to get parents to this point where I go, wouldn't it be awesome to assume the best? When every time you see your kid, rather than going, what are they up to now? What are they doing now? Oh my God, because that's crazy, man.
It is
to
crazy.
live that way.
Oh my gosh, there's no peace in that.
Right.
And to be able to see parents start to grab onto the tools that they learn in groups, you start to see peace come back into their life. And we tell parents this. We say, listen, we're going to give you tools and things to grab onto. And if you work your recovery, we're going to teach you how to be okay, even if your kid's not.
Even if your kid's still headed down.
And they look at us like, you got to be kidding me.
Right.
You're crazy. No. If you work these tools, you start to do this, you put your focus on you will bring peace back into your peace will start to come back from the insanity that you've been living in.
So here's a testament to that. Do you have parents that show up even when their kids aren't there anymore?
That's right. We
Yeah,
do.
right?
Yes. We've got parents who are still showing up, whose kids have 3 or 4 years sober and clean today,
Right.
that come because they're working on themselves still.
Right.
And it's awesome to watch the metamorphosis take place in people's lives, because these aren't just recovery tools. These are life tools.
Yeah.
These things that you learn in a group like that aren't just about addiction recovery. It's about how you relate to your neighbors, your bosses, people in your life, other family members. They work in life, period.
Yeah, it's neat. You know, we were taught, and Susan, you and I went to the same school, which, you know, give a shout out to the Addiction Studies program at Pierce College. It is bar none the best, maybe in the world. Dr. Crossan would have said it's the best in the world,
Dr.
right?
A little wizard.
But we were taught, and it's true, it's a lifestyle disorder. You know, which means, what that means is that it requires a lifestyle change in order to recover from it. It's not just, I'm just going to push the drugs over there and never do them again. No, it doesn't work that way, right? It's an entire lifestyle change, which is not any different than a lot of other disorders, you know? Recovery from diabetes is a lifestyle disorder. It's a lifestyle change as well. You spoke about eating disorders. Same. It takes an entire lifestyle change, you know?
And I think it's important to mention, too, there are often there are underlying mental disorders that the kids are medicating and trying to make themselves feel better, undiagnosed depression and bipolar and all kinds of things. And then I also know on the flip side, through drug use, you can create mental disorders too. And sometimes you get clean and that goes away. But I think it's important to note that that is very common. You have anxiety, so you're gonna do something to make yourself feel better. And those are the tools. Those are the things that are so important for the kids to learn, that, like you said, it's a lifestyle change. Instead of doing this, I can go run. I can go hike. I could paint. I can write in a journal. You know, it's learning that, and it works. It really works. And I just again want to say that because of my own experience, and it took me so long to realize once I got better from the eating disorder that there were underlying causes. I had some sexual abuse in my life that was undealt with. And when I went to go deal with that, I was masking that through controlling what I was putting in my body. And so, like Dr. Crossan used to say in addiction studies, he said, to him, the eating disorders were the worst because you had to take the lion out of the cage and walk it 3 times a day. You had to learn how to eat healthy and how to feed your body. So I say all this, you know, I look at these young people and I see myself. I see, you know, they just need guidance. They need love. They need support. They need tools. community. And that's really our hearts. And I did the crazy mom thing. I followed my kids. I read their diaries. I talked to their friends. I did all of that. So, and I'm happy to say I'm not doing that anymore.
We have peace back in our life, right?
So that's really our heart in a light of hope.
It's interesting. You know, I've when you can get families that you're working with that are honest enough to say that right there is like, I was checking this and doing this and be able to say, like, that was making me nuts. Not what they're doing, but my behavior doing it, right?
Yes.
You can get some really, really honest. And just for like a little sort of, if you're listening to the show and you don't understand addiction, you haven't dealt with it, and you're just trying to get some understanding, here's a couple of, sort of different stories. I had one lady whose husband we were treating, and she told a story about he was going to these bars and drinking at these bars, and she said one time she showed up and she went and took his car and moved his car and then sat in her car waiting for him to come out of the bar so that she could get some sort of satisfaction or a feeling of like, this is what you're doing to me, right? And she's telling that story, and just, I mean, they're in recovery and they're kind of past it now, but she's telling that story going, this is the kind of craziness that happens, right? I had another guy whose wife was really messed up on pills, and he said that he had gotten to a point because of his, like, he couldn't work because he was tracking devices on her stuff and monitoring that, couldn't work, and he became suicidal. And he goes, I'm the one who's suicidal, and I'm not even the one who's doing the drugs, right? And he told that story, and we're sitting in a family group, and she says, can I say something? And I go, yeah. And she goes, I knew that he had tracking devices on my stuff, on my phone and everything. And she said, that right there took my addiction to a whole nother level because it added an element of, now I have to get away with it. And her behavior actually got worse because he was doing that, right? And so when we hear these stories, we kind of get a picture like, oh my God, like, that's not helpful. But what is the solution? Right? So, okay, if I'm not supposed to do that, Bob, what am I supposed to do? Well, take a step back and let's kind of reassess that, right? So what worked for, I'm not going to make any assumptions, but are your daughters doing well today?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what worked? Ultimately, what worked for them?
You know what? I think what works for each individual is really different. I share with our parents that it wasn't a light of hope that got my girls clean.
Right.
It wasn't treatment that got my girls clean. It was life consequences that got my girls clean.
Okay.
My youngest daughter was a single mom with 2 kids at 17, 18 years old. And she saw that she could possibly lose her kids. And I think that was enough motivation, at least back then, to her to start to pursue sobriety and getting clean. And she's been clean seven years now. But at the time when she got pregnant and was having these kids, I was looking at God going, what in the world are you doing? You got to be kidding me. This is the worst thing that could ever happen. And sometimes just life circumstances become the very thing that can be used to push them towards recovery.
Yeah.
And sometimes it looks ugly. Sometimes it could be prison. It could be, something happening with the sheriff's department, or in God forbid, those extreme cases of overdoses and things that all of a sudden, life circumstances push you to a point where finally they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they choose the recovery road. And I think that's the same way with us as parents. We have to get to a place in our lives as parents where we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And am I really willing to grab onto the tools that I need to get my serenity back, to get my life back, to change the environment in my home, to make it more conducive for recovery, not only for my kid, but for me as a parent. And, we go beyond just, Susan was sharing some of the things that, the kids deal with, and some of the symptoms and things you see, the behaviors, but we take it even a step further. We realize the underlying issue of all those things is pain. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of things that have happened in these young people's lives, and we go there and try to help them heal from that. We try to create a safe environment where they're willing to start to share some of those personal stories, like Susan shared her own personal story today, but in the group, when you have other young people sharing their personal stories, it starts to unlock other people who have stayed stuck with their traumas and pain.
Yeah, if I feel safe. I was taught a long time ago that everybody is looking for some place to talk about their stuff. Yeah. We're just waiting for a safe place to do that, right? And when we step into these, when one person is brave enough to say, this happened, and and I wanted to share about it, it allows other people to go, oh, it's okay to do that. Cool, and they can start to share too. Exactly. And that's my experience as well, is when I started to talk about that stuff that happened to me when I was 7 years old. That opened up. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was driving all of this behavior the whole time until I found a place where I could go, does this have anything to do with it? Oh yeah, has everything to do with it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we do the same with our parents. I challenge them to go beyond just learning the tools and things for recovery and for themselves and their kids, but to really take a look at their own past and history, because so much of this taps into our old past experiences with spouses, maybe their own abuse and things that have happened in their own personal life. As a parent today, trying to deal with your kids' addiction and all of that just stirs up a lot of that stuff. And they need a place where they can heal, where they can move, even farther on, not just settle for this is just the way I am, that through this process as parents, we grow, we change, we become stronger, we become more courageous, we become better parents, better grandparents, better husbands, better wives. Yeah. And that's really awesome to watch take place in people's lives.
Well, and dare I say that we have the ability, and we are breaking patterns that for a lot of us are multi-generational. Mm-hmm. Patterns of unhealthy communication and the way that we, interact with each other. We have the ability, it's not just about us changing and staying sober. It's about us being able to pass that on to the next generation as well. And so there's a big shift that can take place in this kind of work.
I just wanted to say with what Tim was saying, like for me, I think that I felt like if I save my child, I'm saving myself. And that makes me emotional because it's so unhealthy. But when you haven't dealt with your own issues, if you feel like you could save yourself by saving them. Maybe you can save them from the pain that you went through and nobody was able to save you from. But it's so awesome when I started to look at my stuff, I was giving my children a gift.
Yeah, you're learning a new way together.
Breaking the pattern. And just like what you just said. So that's such an important part for parents to realize. By looking at your stuff, you're giving your children a gift. You're breaking the unhealthy cycles instead of trying to fix them to fix yourself, which doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, it's unhealthy, like you said. So when we come back after this break, what I want to do is talk about exactly, the schedule that goes on over there, how we get a hold of you guys if we want to be a part of it, where the location is, all that good stuff. I'm Bob Sheritz. This is the Way Out Recovery Hour. We'll be right back.
Coming to Santa Clarita, it's Grammy Award-winning Rita Coolidge at the Canyon Club in the Valencia Town Center. Performing hits from the 70s and 80s, her songs were tops on Billboard magazine's pop, country, adult contemporary, and jazz charts. Classic hits like the theme from the 1983 James Bond film Octopussy, All Time High. We're an all-time high. And featuring Santa Clarita's own Savannah Burrows. Maybe we'd a night of legendary music from Rita Coolidge and storytelling and original music from the 2016 Local Country Showdown winner, Savannah Burrows. Rita Coolidge and Savannah Burrows, Sunday, January 27th at the Canyon, Santa Clarita in the Valencia Town Center. Tickets at Ticketmaster.
And now, a cooking tip from Keith Mowry from Bob's Country Meats. Ribs were made for the barbecue, but here's a great cooking tip.
The best way I like to cook the ribs is in the oven, cover them about an hour, 350, then put them on the barbecue for about 15 to 20 minutes, turn them a few times just to get them nice and brown.
Ribs, chicken, tri-tip, pork chops, turkey, steaks, even exotic game like buffalo and ostrich. For the tastiest ribs in town, visit Bob's Country Meats on Soledad in Canyon Country.
Men, are you feeling tired, stressed, or just don't have the energy you used to? Did you know this could be related to decreased testosterone levels? Luckily, there's a safe, effective solution. Weeder Prime helps support healthy testosterone levels with clinically tested key ingredients. Just 2 capsules of Weeder Prime each day can help change your mood, energy, focus, body fat, and lean muscle. Feel the way you felt 10, 20, even 30 years ago. Rediscover your Prime with Weeder Prime. To find a retailer near you, visit WeederPrime.com. That's WEIDER Prime.com.
Have you heard about Assistance League Retail Store? For a good time and a great deal and bargains that are an amazing steal, there are friendly volunteers ready to share a smile. So come on in and stay a while. We take donations on gently used goods, and proceeds from our sales stay in the neighborhood. So for a great buy and a special find, come visit our store anytime. Assistance League Resale Store located at 24369 Main Street in downtown Newhall.
Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Now FM 98.1 FM and AM 1220. Your hometown station.
Welcome back to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sheritz, and if you are just joining us, please go back in on the Facebook page. You can go to A Light of Hope, Santa Clarita's Facebook page, the Way Out Recovery, SCV's Facebook page, KHTS Facebook page. You can pull up this live video, or it'll be running later. Please go back and watch it and see what you missed. But if you're just joining us now, we're in studio with Susan and Tim Trarig, the founders of A Light of Hope. And I really encourage you to go back and listen to what we've been talking about. We have a few minutes left. What I want to make sure that everybody gets, more important than anything else, is how do I get to you guys?
Yep. Well, you can find us. We're now located in a new facility over at 21176 Center Point Parkway.
So give me a visual on that.
It's right up behind the Walmart and Sam's Club off of Center Point.
Center Point Parkway, almost directly across the street from like a Harley Davidson place.
Yeah, Hugo's
up
is up that direction. Yeah.
Okay.
We're in unit number 300. We're now centrally located in the Santa Clarita Valley, which is really nice, so we're more accessible. Our groups run on Tuesdays and Thursday nights from 7 to 8:30. And our activities and events are on the weekends. And those Tuesday and Thursday night groups, we have a separate group for young people, 14 to 26, and a separate group for parents and family members. And you also can reach us at 661-513-4325 or 513-HEAL, HEAL.
Okay. And website?
Yes, it's A Light of Hope, SCV.org.
Okay, great. So, and if I'm, if I don't know if I belong, I can just stop by and check it out?
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't have to let us know ahead of time. Just show up, come in. You'll feel very welcome. You're going to love our new facility. Our group room for our parents looks like a living room. We've got a fireplace, couches, and chairs. We really realize how important the environment is for us to feel comfortable and in a safe place, and I think they'll love what they see. And the young people have a great lounge area that's really cool, so I think they'll really love it.
Well, and one of the things, at the Way Out, we get a lot of families of adolescents that come, and they don't, whether or not they sign up with us, one of the things that I always do is recommend your program. And one of the fears that parents have, especially of teenagers, is, I'll say it like this because they say say it, and I'm not being rude when I say this, parents, but they'll say, I'm afraid to put my kids with those people or something.
Right.
And I, in a very gentle and loving and kind way, say, look, your kids are those people, and we're just, regular Joes like everybody else. Addiction hits all these families across the board, but what they really are asking is this a safe place for me to send my teenager, right?
Yes.
What I say to them is go with your teenager and go to the parent group, but absolutely 100%. At the Way Out Recovery, we trust 100% in a light of hope, and we recommend and very highly recommend and send people there without having to worry that they're going to get worse or something bad's going to happen or anything like that, you know? And so for people listening today, I really want to talk about that, right? I want to really say that is that this is an absolutely safe, kind, and loving environment, When we started The Way Out, one of the sort of phrases that we use, and we live by this, is we're a non-punitive, loving and kind, compassionate environment, and we want that to be the places that we send our kids and that we go to for help ourselves.
Yes.
I want to walk in the door and get a hug.
That's right.
I want to walk in the door and have somebody say it's okay. It's okay.
You will
to
find
be
a new family at a Light of Hope, no doubt about it. We call it a Light of Hope family. Everybody sees themselves as a part of the family, and you'll be brought in very quickly by a lot of loving and caring people who get you, who understand where you're coming from. And I think that's really an important part of it, to be able to go to a place where people get you and they really do understand where you're coming from, because most people just don't.
Yeah, and and if you're afraid to go into like a group environment, just show up and listen. Nobody's gonna force you to talk, and we're not gonna put you on the spot. There's none of that going on.
We have what makes a Light of Hope what it is and makes it successful are all the volunteers and all the parents that have gone through the program and have been there for years and are giving back. They're now facilitating. We have young people that have a lot of sobriety that are giving back and facilitating, and I think that's what makes it work, because it takes one to know one. It's like, and you can encourage in a way that people that haven't experienced it wouldn't be able to relate to. So I just want to personally thank everybody that's been involved with A Light of Hope, because it wouldn't be what it is without all of our volunteers.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And there's another way, if you're listening or watching the show and you're thinking, I don't know anybody who can use that program, but you want to help in the Santa Clarita community, there is no better organization to help with some donations, so they can donate on the website as well.
Yes. Also, I wanted to mention our Light of Hope Connect free app. You can download that app by texting the word ALOH to 555-888. Okay. And it's a great way to stay connected with us. You can see what happens throughout the week. We post some of our activities and events. You see pictures. You see what our needs are. And it is a great place to also give through the app or through our website.
So text ALOH to 555-888.
That's it.
It's that simple.
It's that simple.
And then I get the app and I can download it.
That's it. And stay connected with us. You bet.
Well, I want to thank you guys so much for being on the show today. Susan, Tim,
thank you, Bob.
Thank you. We appreciate you very much in our community. We love that you are here. Keep doing what you're doing, and keep shining that light.
We thank you for your partnership. Yes. We love you, brother, and we love what you're doing as well. It's great to be partnered with you.
All right. Thanks, guys. I'm Bob Sheritz. This is The Way Out Recovery. Thanks, everyone, for listening to the show today. We'll see everyone next week.